How did she get started on this? I loved her story. So while she was working on advertising for Pillsbury and other well-known food brands, she realized her true passion lay in understanding how food can be used for promoting health and well-being. She returned to her roots in India and began studying food habits and their impact on health and how they evolved through the course of history. Apart from being a nutrition consultant, Disha has completed her training in naturopathy and launched her own brand of Disha's Functional Foods. Her products are extensively recommended by well known medical doctors and functional practitioners as part of a holistic healing diet program for various elements. She will also be sharing some exciting recipes with you, so stay tuned for that. And in conversation with Disha today, we have our own expert, Harika Sachdev, who's our wellness and health guru, I would say here. There will also be a Q&A at the end, so please keep posting your questions. We will ask you to unmute so that you can ask your question yourself. So over to you, Harika and Disha, and welcome, Disha, to Sipping Thoughts.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you, Suki. Looking forward to a really amazing, fun-filled, and lots of knowledge session. Yeah. So let me start, Disha, by asking you. There's always a story. Of course, Suki briefly mentioned it. When we don't tread the straight and narrow, right? We take careers that are completely different. So,
Yeah.
what really got you into this?
So I love food. I love food. It's my first love. And as a kid, I was overweight as a kid. I had stomach issues. I always had, I think, some connection with my gut. Like I honestly used to feel I've had this happen to me, believe it or not, that there was this teacher I was scared of, and every time her period would come on, it was time for her class. My stomach would start hurting. And one day it actually didn't hurt. And then 2 minutes later, I'm like, what's going on? They're like, she hasn't come in today. I don't know how my gut knew before I knew, but I've had this up and down relationship with my tummy, with food, with something not suiting me, but I've always um, struggled with it somehow through the years. And I used to, I mean, I was a very fussy eater to begin with, but as of now, I eat everything under the sun, and I don't think there's anything that I don't like. I started with it was in um, now quite a few years ago. I started. I mean, I looked up. I was always looking for stuff. Like whenever I travel, any like a Whole Foods, I would always go and see what can I get for myself. Started with cold pressed juices were out. I thought, let me try this out. And I made something for a friend of mine. And he was like, you should start doing this. They don't have it here. Because I got the cold pressed juice machine. I was like, I got obsessed with it. But by the time I came round to it, there were too many of them. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. So I figured it took about, I think, 2, 3 years for it to come from the US and UK to India, where the craze got on. So I said, let me check what's happening there now. And it was all about probiotics. I'm talking about a time when no one here had heard the word probiotics in about 2014-15, and it was slowly gearing up. Functional medicine was coming out in the US. So I spent a few years reading, studying all of that, and it was of interest to me. I love to read. I love to come up with new things, and I don't know. One day I just decided that instead of waiting to have a whole coming up with ideas, let me just try making it in my kitchen. I did that. I said, okay, let me come up with one page of thing of a menu that I can put up on an Instagram and Facebook, and let's see if anyone even knows what I'm talking about. So I had a kombucha, I had a kefir, I had kimchi, sauerkraut. I studied a lot about why, what, because I preempted there'll be questions. I didn't realize how many. And yeah, so the studying continued. This took off really well, where I added stuff, and I think things happened very organically to reach where I am now, in the sense that, from that to I just started. I wanted to do stuff. I realized I want to do stuff you don't get easily out here. And I don't enjoy, like, if someone says you love to cook, no, I've never really cooked. So I enjoy making new stuff. And I have no passion for coming up with, like, going and cooking dal and stuff at home. So yeah, that's where it's been. And now we've branched into a lot of things. So it's exciting.
So when you say this, you mean Disha's Functional Foods?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we see in fact a lot of that, at least online, and I have tried a lot of your stuff. and actually gone back to it time and time again. So yeah, it's all worth its, how should I say, money in salt and gold. So let's address the elephant in the room. We talk about gut health. What really is gut health? Tell us a little more about that.
How Sukriti said, our gut is our single biggest factor which is responsible for our overall health and wellness. 75 to 85% of your immune system is in your gut. You have a second nervous system in your gut, which is the enteric nervous system. The gut bacteria, there are more bacterial cells in your body, there are more bacterial genes in your body than human genes. Now you have a two-way street between your brain and your gut, between the enteric nervous system and your brain, and it's connected by something called the vagus nerve. So when you are, to put in simpler terms, when you are anxious, it's going to affect your stomach. When you have a stomach ailment or a digestive issue, it's going to affect your mood. So the bacteria communicate with your brain, even when it comes to a sugar craving. It's the bacteria sending signals. We don't want to die. These are the bad bacteria that feed on sugar, saying we don't want to die. So they'll send signals to your brain where you'll feel lightheaded and you'll be like, oh my God, I'm craving sugar. I need energy. I'm feeling low. My blood sugar is low or whatever. And you have a brain gut axis. You have a brain gut skin axis. The gut is basically connected to everything, and all sorts of ailments, from Alzheimer's to depression to even arthritis. Of course, all the digestive ailments are there. So every kind of even cancer stems from your gut issues.
So are you trying to say that there is actually a correlation or a relationship between the gut and our emotions? Because I see that connection coming up.
Yeah, so definitely there's a link between your gut cells and your emotions. Now the microbes sit on this layer of mucus and cells that coats the inner lining of your intestines. They sit on this location, and they can listen in on the signals that the brain signals are sending, whether you're happy, whether you're stressed, you're angry. You might not even know that, you might not be aware you're feeling this at the moment. And they're not just listening, they can influence. So they can influence your emotions by generating and modulating the signals that they then send back to your brain. And so what starts with an emotion in the brain can, the signals, the microbes will generate their signals, the brain will reinforce it. So it's like a vicious cycle. Now, if you're chronically in an angry or upset state, your enteric nervous system, the nerve connections change over time. The sensors in your gut become more sensitive. Your serotonin, which is produced majorly in your gut, will become more sensitive, and even the gut microbes become more aggressive. So to put it in simple words, when, let's say, your brain perceives a threat, let's say something happens, you have something called a CRF, which is a critical stress molecule. That regulates the amount of cortisol that is produced. And your cortisol is produced by your adrenal glands. Now, what happens is this cortisol is responsible for everything, for your fat, your protein, and your carb metabolism, and keeping your immune system in check. In fact, a lot of people, when lockdown started, said, we're not losing weight, we're doing everything we can. That's because your circadian rhythm, your cortisol was all out of whack. And that's why they say, if you're not sleeping 7 to 8 hours, you're not going to lose weight. And everyone's cortisol was completely out of whack when lockdown started, which is why a lot of people had trouble losing. One of the biggest reasons people had trouble losing weight. So when a stress program is activated, there's an increase in the CRF cortisol system.
So I'm just going to pause right here just for the benefit of our listeners. One, cortisol is our stress hormone that you're talking about, right? And the other thing that you spoke about is the circadian rhythm. So that is typically our body, which needs to sleep for a certain number of hours when it's sundown and then wake up, so follow that rhythm. That's what we mean by circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'll tell you how important cortisol is, because when your body is sometimes producing cortisol, it will not, if there's a heavy rush of cortisol being produced, it won't go towards the other hormones, the testosterone or the estrogen and all. So that's how your hormonal imbalances also happen. It's because those hormones get sidelined. So again, now when you're stressed, your hypothalamus is the main main area of your brain where the main production site for CRF, which now this it switches on every organ in your body, including your GI tract, your gastrointestinal tract. This activates your adrenal gland. Now, your thyroid issues are very linked to this also, just to give you a brief in that. So now the adrenal gland is pumping out cortisol. It goes to the amygdala, which is another region of the brain, the CRF, and there's a feeling of anxiety and fear. This plays out in the body. You get palpitations, you get sweaty palms, and you also get an urge to eliminate any contents from your GI tract. You keep feeling that lump in your gut. Like in your heart, there's a lump in your gut also. So, I mean, in the brain, there are spikes of anxiety, and you also get sometimes people get shooting pain in their belly. Everyone's reaction varies. So emotions will impact your entire digestive tract. It will have an effect on every part of your body. And there's a direct link between your brain and your gut. So that's an obvious
connection there. Yeah. So let's come back to what you do make at the Disha Functional Foods, and you briefly touched upon prebiotics and probiotics. So maybe if you can shed a little light of which one has what sort of foods, and also does everybody need them, or only people who have symptoms of certain disease? How does it really help? So maybe if you could just talk to us about that.
So starting from, like I said, your body, you need all the bacteria. Like you're born with bacteria again. You have more bacterial cells, more bacterial genes. Your hands, I mean, have some 150 species. Your skin. But you will see the difference between my left hand and right hand. The species on both of them they'll be only 17% similar. Why is that? Because I'm using my right hand for a lot more than I use my left.
Yeah.
Same way, when a child is born, the baby, it's a vaginal delivery, the child will get the microbes from the mother. It's a C-section. The child will get the microbes from the skin of the nurse, the doctor, which is not ideal. Yeah. Again, breast milk will feed. The breast milk feeds the bacteria, which in turn builds the immune system of the baby.
Right.
Breast milk is technically not for the baby, it's for the immune, to increase the microbe family of the baby. And if you're giving regular milk, then you can see how that hampers the child. Now, probiotics are a stopgap. So your immunity is literally built when you're a kid. Probiotics are filling your body with good bacteria on a daily basis. And what happens is that the probiotics that go into your body, they're transitory. They don't stay there. They exit. They do their work and they exit. And your job is to fill your body with prebiotics, which feed this good family of probiotics. And a lot of fiber, which I'll explain in a minute. So what happens is the bacteria eat this food of prebiotics, feeds the probiotics, and the good family of bacteria grows. It's like if you're going to feed sugar, the sugar-feeding bacteria will grow. It's as simple as that. And so probiotics, now you get a lot of, in a lot of shops, you get these medicines, which are not regulated. There are natural...
Probiotic pills. You're saying probiotic pills?
They can be. So there are probiotic pills, and then there are probiotic naturally...
Like Yakult and all?
Yakult, according to me, has a lot of sugar. I don't know the new one they've come up with. Again, if you can, either get something that's made more artisanally or make it yourself. Because I'll tell you the difference. Now, I'll tell you probiotic foods are fermented foods, which include something people will recognize, a kanji. There are kombucha, kefir, kimchi. Every country seems to have its own,
fermented. Anything that's fermented.
Sauerkraut, it's fermented. Fermentation was a way to store food when there were no refrigeration, and sailors used to carry sauerkraut in their ships to prevent them from getting scurvy. So obviously they have billions of strains. It's obviously a better way of getting probiotics in your body. When you're getting something from the market, the pills aren't regulated. You do not know when a pill goes into your mouth, the gastrointestinal tract, it's a very harsh environment, whether it'll survive that. And the bile and everything, whether by the time it goes down, it actually does what it's supposed to. So the food, and any product on the shelf has to be consistent. Here, when we do stuff, I make sure people know, look, you're not going to get the same exact taste batch to batch. I can't guarantee it because I'm fermenting it with grains or with salt or with the natural way to do it. So it depends on temperature, humidity, pH, a lot of things, on the number of days. So yeah, so what happens is if you can have these foods, it's much better because something like sauerkraut, the bioavailability of vitamin C is much more in sauerkraut than a cabbage. It does survive the environment of your GI tract. There are many more species because in say a shelf stable variety that you get in the market, you can only put a certain number of strains from the lab because you need consistency. You can't have someone buying telling you, okay, this shot of Yakult tastes different from this shot. That's just prerequisite for stuff that you sell in the market. Again, they make, like I said, they make nutrients more bioavailable in the food. They reduce anti-nutrients like phytic acid. They increase the digestibility of food and create byproducts called bioactives in much greater quantities, which help with reducing blood pressure, modulating the immune responses. And so all these kind of foods, whether it's a sauerkraut from Germany or a kimchi from Korea or a kanji from India, they all have different. Now, a lot of people ask me, will this help me with this? I don't know. You have to try it and see it. We are very far away from a time when you go to a doctor's office and the guy is like, okay, here's a pill I have formulated for you. This strain does this strain does this, and it's tailor-made for you. With food, you have a whole bunch of strains. Now, again, people who have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, they will not be able to have probiotics.
Yeah.
People who have histamine allergy, they are better off taking a pill because histamine is something that is there in fermented food. You can't escape it. If you have a yeast, like I said, a yeast allergy, fermented foods tend to be high in tyramines, which is an amino acid, which can cause headaches in some people who are sensitive to it. So again, now prebiotics are something that feed probiotics. So it's fiber. It's your apples, your onions, your garlic, your asparagus, your apples, your banana. Banana flour is a very good prebiotic. The more you have of these things, the more you're feeding that good bacteria and you're giving it room to grow. So if you have a good bacterial family, then you don't need to always depend on probiotics. But the way we eat on a general level, I usually tell people, have a little bit. Okay, if you've had it for a few months, you can take a break and go back to it again. And everyone's very individual. Your microbial print is as distinct as your fingerprint. No two people have the same fingerprint. No two people have the same microbial pattern.
Yeah.
So that's basically the.
Just putting it quickly together in terms of at least the family of foods. Probiotics are things like kefir and kombucha. That's right. And then the entire fermented food family that you spoke about. And probiotics. Sorry, the sauerkraut and the rest of it. So that comes in under the other family. Is that right?
No. Sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, any
fermented food
will come under fermented food will come under probiotics. Prebiotics are most of your. I can send you a list of like asparagus, onions, banana flour, apples, chicory root, a lot of them where you have fiber.
And they will support the growth of so they basically create the environment for the.
There's a whole talk you can have on prebiotics, but that's the part anyone needs to know, that eat a lot of vegetables.
Okay, so we have spoken briefly about functional medicine. I just want you to be able to also highlight to people what is functional medicine, as we understand it today.
So functional medicine is when you go to a doctor. If I keep getting I had in 2016 I had a knee pain, and I went to a particular doctor because a doctor an orthopedic who deals with knee pain. He made me do tests which I would expect, an X-ray or whatever, and then told me, okay, you have signs of arthritis, or you don't have signs of arthritis. Now, what a functional medicine practitioner will do is, if you go into his office and say, I have this issue, he'll make you sit down. He'll make you fill out your whole history as much as he can. He or she will make you fill a form where it'll ask you certain symptoms, and they might not be related to your knee. They might be related to your mood. He'll ask you which other medications are you on. He'll ask you from morning to night what do you eat, what oil do you cook in. Okay, if you're eating bread, what brand do you use? If you sometimes a person can say something like, I had these chips. Now, chips or crackers can be healthy. They can be the whole, and like someone can say, I sleep. So he'll ask you, when do you sleep? How long do you sleep? He'll ask everything under the sun. You'll spend a good 2 hours with him or his assistant and get that data. And then based on that, they will build on what is wrong. They don't want to cure your symptom. He doesn't want to cure why my arthritis or my knee pain. He wants to cure why am I getting it. So like with me, when I got tested, when I got a comprehensive stool test done, I had a bacteria in my body and this particular strain leads to rheumatoid arthritis later on in life, if it's in more numbers than usual, and this feeds off of gluten. So I was told no gluten for you. So a lot of people, when they come in, they don't realize, they'll say, oh, I'm fine on gluten, I don't have any issues. So you deal with them you have to see if they're willing, because most people are resistant. We've eaten like this for so long. So you have to see if they're willing and receptive to hear that, you know what, I didn't have digestive issues with gluten, but yes, I could have maybe been walking with a limp 10 years down the line if I don't at least cut it out from my diet for a while.
So it's getting to the root cause and being able to also not let things manifest.
Not letting things manifest, and now it's also living function. What I like about functional medicine is it combines, it gets in your mind, body, spirit. It's also about coaching, where you sit with a person and you just don't give them a prescription and say, here you go, change your sleep like this, change this. They have where they guide you and coach you through. They take you through, okay, what is it that you can change? What is it that you're willing to change? Where do you see your life 10 years from now? And if that's your goal, living a particular life, let's say I describe my life to you, I want to live by the beach, I want to be running, I want to be, this is the business I want, then they help you
support that.
Like, how are you going to manage to get there if you don't start working down one thing at a time?
So, of course, we understand that gut health is a really important part of building immunity. But I also want you to talk a little bit about why would your immune system go rogue?
Okay. So like I said, your immune system is built when you're young. That immune system, if it matures in an environment where parts are missing, where your microbial development is not there, it's going to fire haphazardly. And when that happens, then it basically becomes a matter of time whether you'll get a neurodegenerative disease, whether you'll get a gastro disease, whether you'll get, and even cancer. It just depends. Now, your microbiota is literally a dial. It's like a dial that controls the sensitivity and the responsiveness of your immune system. They actually dictate, like when you have an autoimmune attack, it's dictated by the kind of bacteria that inhabits your gut. So, and they're basically training your immune system. So in your early life, your microbiome is basically training your immune system how to react. Now, what happens is, a lot of people ask that, in the 1970s, my grandmother could eat wheat, my grandparents could eat. There was no thyroid disease, skin and gut, all this didn't happen. And again, the immune system is trained in the early part of your life. And there are two key points. This development includes the maturation of the different cells of your immune system and the education of the immune system and how and when it should react. And there are developmental windows for your immune system, which are known. The most sensitive periods of immune development are called critical windows of immune vulnerability. Now, during these times, if you are not careful, then what happens is there can be stuff. It can, if there is a threat, if an education of the immune system is interrupted, the entire system of distinguishing what is a friend, what is a foe, that is when autoimmune attacks happen. You start, attacking your own body, the cells in your body. And so the immune system is not properly trained, and either there'll be a failure to react to a real threat, or there'll be a reacting to a threat with a wrong kind of defense, or then the body will start attacking its own tissues. And what happens is that, again, with wheat and everything, we do not know that the wheat that was there about, say, 10, 20 years down the line, the purity of the food, it's not there anymore. So our bodies have even gotten used to this, aggressive reaction. Whether you're having, there are a lot more toxins and chemicals today in everything that you do. You didn't have, foods made with all these kind of chemicals. Your grandparents used to make roti from the field, and serve it to you, like, or have it in their families. The vegetables were taken from, they were grown, they were cooked, and
So
that's
let's come
how.
back to the vegetables, since we are talking about what is in our control now. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the vegetables that are good, one, for our gut lining, and second, also a little bit more about how to eat vegetables, because I believe also the way they are put into your body makes
Yeah.
a difference to your health.
Again, that makes a difference with, if you, what your situation is. Now what happens is, vegetables are all good. There is something called the phytonutrient spectrum. Every color is important, so make sure you get a little bit of every color: orange, red, green, blue, neutral color, because they all serve different purposes. So whether you're having your spinach, whether you're having your apple, um, there's
So
orange.
in a day, are you saying in a day we
In
should
a
try
day,
and
you
get
should
as
try to
many
get,
colors?
yeah.
Hmm.
And what happens is, now some people react to stuff called FODMAP vegetables because they create, like a broccoli will create gas. You have to be mindful. Chew your food each bite 32 times if you can. I know no one can. Chew it as much as you can, because that will
32 times. I think 32 times. Okay, that's a number to remember. Is a specific number for a reason?
They just say 32 times.
32 times. Okay. All right.
I mean, I can't chew 32 times. I'll go mental, but I try and
But
chew.
basically chew a lot.
Basically, what happens is, people, even when you love food, you're just swallowing it because you want to eat more. You chew half the time and half the food just goes in. You don't realize. So you have to, and eat, like, if something is bothering you, especially if you had, like, sometimes my tummy gets bloated after eating a plate of vegetables. Obviously, some on there which are called as FODMAP vegetables did not suit me. There's a broccoli, and everyone has their own demons, because depending on their what their stomach issue is. Always remove the stems and peels from vegetables, especially like broccoli. Always, the more you dice, mash, chop them, the easier they'll go down.
Okay.
So sometimes, again, they are insoluble fiber. They're best when they're cooked. I mean, if you're having raw vegetables, some people react to raw. Well, they can't have salads. They'll
Yeah,
again.
that was my question. That there's a lot of talk about eating raw. So what is
Raw
advisable?
is very good for people. You already have compromised digestive issues. A lot of people say, "Oh, if you can't eat raw, it's because you have a compromised digestive system." And I'm like, yes, most people do have a compromised digestive system. So you have to answer to them, not just tell everyone go on a raw food diet. It's not going to suit everyone. So what you do is you steam it. Steaming is the best, and then stir frying if you have to, and don't blacken them, because, or fry them, because the nutrients are gone. So and eat them, again, you eat them with your, I always say, keep your fat, your protein and all. You should have like a proper meal. If you're having, let's say, sweet potato is a good form of carb. Your vegetables give you carb. um, Always be mindful of which vegetables suit you, and eat accordingly, and deal with, like, if you say FODMAPs are causing you issues, they're like, people can't digest food. There are certain digestive enzymes. But again, a lot of people on acid blockers will not be able to digest food, because what happens is, a lot of people think you're killing the acidity in your system. Yes, you're killing the acidity, but that acidity is what is required to digest your food. So your food is not going to be digested, and again, it's going to cause it. So that acid blocker,
It's a
that
vicious cycle.
having, is going to cause such major issues in your body, because you can't deal with that pain. And I understand, all of us have had it. We don't like dealing with that pain, but continual use will erode your system. It will just create more acidity. It'll be a vicious cycle.
Yeah. So again, are there any ingredients that really support gut lining that you can give us, that we should definitely have?
Aloe vera is great. For turmeric is great. For those who
And is
are
there a quantity about how much you should have, or can you have it on a daily basis? When you say
these
turmeric,
are
of
very
course,
mild. These are good for you. These you can have. Your spices, see, all your spices and herbs are very good for you. They're very good for you. Your bone broth, if you're a non-vegetarian, your
can you elaborate a little bit on bone broth?
so that is, you take the bones of chicken or mutton and you slow cook them. Um, and you can add your vegetables again. You can add your herbs and spices. There's collagen. There's a lot of collagen in there. For people who are vegetarian but strict vegetarians, where they don't want to have anything to do with the taste or the smell, you can make vegetarian broth. That's also good for you. There are different benefits. Then there are collagen powders. Now that also depends. I have people who are vegetarian who are willing to have like an omega-3 supplement. Omega-3 is a very important nutrient. Magnesium is a very important nutrient, which tests will show that you have, but
That's
it
right.
will be an issue. So we do something called the skin. It's basically made from the skin of wild cod, and it's just powder. It's skin of wild cod is dried and made into powder, and that has a lot of collagen in it. So all these things, they help with your hair, they help with your bones, they help with your skin. And then what else?
How do you take in magnesium? Topically, like an oil, or with the food?
So
How do you?
I have a powder form.
Okay.
Because I have the citrate or the oxide variety, which helps with constipation. You can have glycinate also, which magnesium they say helps with your sleep also.
Yeah.
Um, so it depends what type you need. You get it off of Amazon. There's a brand called Calm, which I use, which I just put it in water and I have it, and it's like a fizzy drink, and it works wonders. I can't live without it. But you have to be careful. Like, I know you get milk of magnesia. Sometimes it can give you diarrhea if you're not careful and you have too much of it.
What about putting it topically, the magnesium oil that you get as well? Is that sufficient?
Again, it's
Your bath and all.
case by case. Like for someone like me, it wouldn't be sufficient, but it depends. There are herbs in root, dandelion root, a lot of herbs that detox your liver and they calm your stomach. Again, slippery elm is very good, dandelion root, marshmallows.
Can we just take them without having it diagnosed or prescripted, is what I'm wondering.
It's very, like, what we do is, what I also have quite often is, I'll just make an overnight. We do a thing called a gut tonic where we put these, then we put because like they say, Indian remedies are ajwain dal do, jeera dal do, uska kada bana do. So we make something called a gut tonic where we overnight fuse these three: marshmallow, slippery elm, and dandelion, and we put cinnamon, cardamom, fennel, and all that. So that's very soothing. And then the next day you just drink it. You just bottle it, put it in the fridge. I like to drink it cold. It helps with a lot of people. It helps with acidity. Some who have different reasons for why they're getting acidity, it's not going to help. So again, and everyone's an individual reaction to it. And yeah, so I said omega-3. Then stuff like CoQ10 or L-glutamine, which some doctors will prescribe, ashwagandha, all of these depend on what your issues are. That's why they tie it in. They do a whole matrix of, and they tie in your emotional issues into that. Because like I said, if you're stressed, you're going to affect your gut.
So since we are in COVID times, what can you give us as tips for maybe building immunity or general well-being for the times that we're in?
So certain vitamins and minerals which are important are vitamin D. Make sure your levels are good. Vitamin C, but don't overdose. I was reading an article that said people have gone mad overdosing.
Vitamin C, yeah.
There's vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C. There's curcumin, which is an extract of turmeric. There's zinc. Again, I don't mean to just go mental and buy all this. You will know from your body. Vegetarians will have a B12, could have a B12 deficiency if they're not careful. Then, this is from now the Institute of Functional Medicine, when they sent out a thing with at the beginning saying what COVID, what supplements help COVID. And I'll read it straight from here for you. That Elderberry is an extract. Again, we've all heard. Echinacea. They say medicinal mushrooms. These are all herbs. Resveratrol, which is
But are they easily available? Because some of these are not, over the counter sort of things.
so
So,
yeah. So no, they're not. Green tea is, so out of this green tea is, I think you can get resveratrol supplements, which is from red wine. Medicinal mushrooms. We do medicinal mushrooms, which I'm out of now. But elderberry, echinacea, and also we do a couple of things like fire cider
hmm.
and immunity tonics, where we put in all of these herbs, rose hip and uh, green tea and elderberry and a whole bunch of things which just help with your cold and flu. And again, licorice is one thing which you get. Mulethi, I think licorice is called, which you get easily. But again, people have to be careful because what happens is it's a problem with blood pressure.
Hmm.
I believe a lot of people are using Giloy, which is very good,
Yeah.
which is easily available again. So just eat your vegetables, eat your protein to. I mean, whether you're vegetarian or not, you need protein. So you use your rice, your dal, your vegetables. You put it all together, and your fats are very important. So that is another thing which is very very important, and fat will not make you fat.
The good fats. So
Yeah.
maybe you can, yeah, you can tell us what the good fats are, just quickly.
The good fats, the avocado, there's extra virgin olive oil, there's nuts and seeds,
Hmm.
there's your the fish like salmon, which you don't get in India. You are not going to get wild caught fish, salmon in India. I've searched and searched. In fact, I only have river water fish because any sea fish in India apparently has mercury.
Hmm.
So
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So we seem to be nearing the end of the time that we were chatting, and we want to open it up to our audience. But before that, share some recipes, because I know those are prize takeaways, and what they could be used for. Maybe you can give a couple of pointers on that.
sure. So I'm going to share screen now, and
There's a question here about ghee being good fat, so maybe you can
yeah,
just
ghee is good fat. Sorry, I forgot ghee.
Yeah.
Ghee, proper homemade butter is very good fat. The idea is not to OD on anything, because even when we go on keto diets, we end up ODing on protein. At least that's what I saw with me. And when I actually sat down and calculated how many grams of, like, I'm a non-vegetarian, how many grams of chicken or fish I actually need in the day, I was shocked. I only need about 150 grams. And I mean, we end up in any meal, if you're having, let's say I'm having fish or whatever, it turns out per meal, we can end up having 200 grams. We don't realize that that's enough to fill you, because you need this much. You have your vegetables, you can have your sweet potato, or you can have if you're having your whole grains. So there's a lot of food on your plate, which we don't do have as many vegetables as you want. But the rest, you have to be careful. Okay. So these are this is a detox juice. Cilantro and parsley are very good for detoxing. You can add, like I add, I've written celery and cucumber. You can add loki, you can add spinach, you can add what you want, and it doesn't taste bad. You can add a little bit of rock salt. This is a special heavy metal detox. Again, parsley and cilantro, very, very good. So you'll see it everywhere. Beets are very good. Kale, if you can get kale, otherwise spinach. This is a good option to do once in a while. It lime, cucumber. As you can see, everything is very, very full of nutrients. Now again, a berry flax smoothie. This is a standard. You do an almond milk, or you can do a kefir. What I do is I do coconut milk, because I have my juice. I don't end up putting spinach in my smoothie, but I put berries. I put when I'm in the mood, I'll put half a banana or a banana. I'll put now I am on the borderline.
Which berries? If you're because
Frozen berries.
No, frozen, yeah, but which
Blue
berries?
is all are very good, but blue is I prefer blue, but yeah, because the other seeds come in my mouth. That's the only reason. Otherwise, they're all good. You can put a mix of them. Then you can put in your supplements. Like I put my collagen powder. I put my mushroom powder. I put Brazil nuts. People put almond milk or your mix of nuts and seeds. I put in sunflower and pumpkin. And for me, for someone with a thyroid issue, Brazil nuts are very good. So I make sure I get in my
the Brazil nuts you're talking about.
yeah, but you need 2-3 a day. You don't need more than that. So I put that in the smoothie, and then anything else. I mean,
So the
people
flaxseed you're talking about, is it raw or is it roasted?
raw,
Raw.
raw.
So
You can
you grind it and then.
grind it to powder. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you can do that. Then making plain sauerkraut, we make different versions, but what you can do to make sauerkraut is you shred the cabbage. You can shred it with a knife, you can shred it with a food processor. For every kilo of cabbage that you take, you add about 20 grams of sea salt or pink Himalayan salt.
Hmm.
Then you actually, you like just release the brine from it. You have to knead it like bread, and just literally take a lot of juice comes out of it. You put it in a jar, and it has to be brine is that liquid that forms, and you put it under the level of the brine. So and it has to stay under that level, and you cover it with a muslin cloth. And sometimes you can use a paper weight or something. We use paper weights to keep it submerged. And technically under 20, at 22 degrees you ferment it for 4 weeks, and then you just take it out and you put it in the fridge, and it's done. And it lasts for a year. The taste will become more pronounced, but as time goes by, but it doesn't go bad. Then everyone's favorite apple cider vinegar. This is again a detox drink. Again, everything will not suit everyone. You put in a little bit of cinnamon, ginger, lemon juice, and a little bit of apple cider vinegar in a glass of warm water, and a little bit of honey if you want. And you can just sip on this.
Again, are there quantities that need to be had, like a minimum or a maximum quantity in a day, so that, like
No,
you mentioned, no overeating?
1 or 2 glasses of this is fine. 1 cups of this is fine when you're feeling under the weather. This is again an alkaline cleansing smoothie. Again, you'll see cilantro and parsley everywhere. It's very similar. I think this might be the same one that was on top, which was a detox one. Very similar to that.
There's the coconut water kefir, I think the other one. Yeah.
Salad dressing, again, you'll see there's apples. There's everything that's healthy, and it's very easy to do. You do a lemon, garlic, apples. EVOO means extra virgin olive oil. You put a little mustard. If you want it slightly sweet, raw honey. You put black pepper. You can put dill. You can put rosemary. You can put oregano. Anything that floats your boat. If you are having, those bowl meals, which are very popular. What's it called? Poke bowls and all. Again, now you can have it with, if you are having a keto bowl, which means the chicken. Otherwise, you can take out the chicken and you can put in any grain you want. You can put something called konjac noodles, which are made of a root. It's a root vegetable, and you use those noodles instead. Or you can use, the number of things you can use. You put in your spinach leaves, you put in a little bit of sauerkraut, little bit of chicken. Some people can put cottage cheese if you want. You put in hard-boiled eggs, microgreens. You can be as innovative as you want. Some people, like with tuna and seaweed, you put kimchi. Sesame seeds, I sprinkle sesame seeds, and I put a little bit of coconut aminos, which is again, tamari is gluten-free soya sauce. The next step is soya sauce made from coconut aminos. It's difficult to get it here, but you do get it. I think in COVID times, a lot of stuff isn't coming in. I'm trying to see, because coconut aminos is made from the sap of a coconut.
Okay.
So, I'm trying to see if it's possible for me to make it if what it requires. But in the meantime, Amazon and all do have it. I don't know how easy in today's day is it to get your hands on it. I still have it left over from when it was possible.
So do you have like a standard order menu, or does it change with the season? And because that's the other thing, are you also going to change the food that you eat with the season?
Yeah. So what happens is, my screen is gone, right? Screen share?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So your vegetables and stuff, eat seasonally. It's always good to eat seasonally. Our menus don't change in the sense because our food is fermented. I keep adding stuff. We started with kombucha, kefir, and all of this. We have added, I've added black garlic for immunity, or I've added collagen. I've added, what have I added? I keep forgetting. Mushrooms. I'm working on trying to add vegan cheese and vegan nut butters and stuff. So that's just more of me trying to, do things and come up with ways. But as far as your meal is concerned, definitely, I think you should eat vegetables that are in season, fruit that are in season. So that always helps. And like berries, I say frozen are better because they're frozen at the point of, when they're plucked and taken out. So the nutrient value remains. When you're bringing fresh, I mean, it's traveled over 2 days or 1 week, the nutrient value is not going to remain.
Okay. Thanks. That's a whole lot of information that we've kind of just soaking in. But let's open it up to questions. We have a lot of questions from the audience. So Damini, would you help us with the questions?
Yes, and the chat box is really brimming with questions.
Buzzing. Yeah, I can see.
So we'll start with Vishali. Vishali had a very interesting question. I'm just going to unmute her. Vishali.
Hi. Hi, Disha.
Hi.
I just actually, can you tell us something about, I came across this on Amazon, this beetroot powder, then there is a superfood, a green superfood powder. I mean, would you recommend that? And also miso paste, because, suddenly everyone's using miso a lot. So if you can just throw some light on these.
So miso is again very good. It's fermented. If you need a contact to get it in Delhi, I can give it to you.
Right.
Miso is very good. Miso soup is very good for you. Again, if you have a histamine allergy or you don't do well with fermented foods, then stay away from miso. Otherwise, it's just in the line of all the good fermented foods that we have. Secondly, now powders and superfoods. See, beetroot you can get from, you can have beetroot, you can have beetroot juice, you can have beetroots. Stuff like, I'll tell you, like moringa, spirulina. I go more towards the sea vegetables, which are very good, and your spirulina or your chlorella and all of that. I prefer those. But whenever you're buying a supplement, make sure you read the label at the back. What does it have? Does it have, because stuff like moringa, chlorella, all these are really good for you. And some of them you can't exactly get in your food. It's not available here for whatever reason, like even stuff like supplements like superfoods like ashwagandha and stuff. What you need to do is read the label at the back. What all does it contain? And if it has more preservatives, if it has sucralose, if it has stuff that you can't spell or make sense of, then no, don't buy it. If it simply says it has beetroot powder, it has spirulina powder, it has moringa powder, and that is it, then you're good to go. If you want, you can always send, a picture of a label or whatever. If you have it, you can show it. And but if it's too complicated an ingredient list where you don't understand things, don't take it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So next we have Jasmine. Jasmine, please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Disha. This is.
Hi, Jasmine.
And I have a question because I'm working in night shift. I'm in rotational shifts, which changes every week. And despite multiple requests, it is not changing. So we are to. So what happens is our eating pattern, sleep pattern, all changes. Though I try my best to eat at the same time and maintain some balance, but we all are facing acidity issues and emotional aspect, which I liked in your session. Yes, that is also there. Fluctuations, a lot of fluctuations are there. So how can I balance and help myself?
Keep trying to get them to change your routine. Keep pestering them. And try to eat as holistically as you can. Try to, this because everything is getting ruined, and this is the worst part. You can't do anything about it because that's your job. Try and just your other areas where you relax, where you do meditation, where you can, take time off, where you at least make sure your levels, get your test done, where all your vitamin levels are in par. Eat very well. Try to at least eat very nutritional stuff. Don't have, because if you have junk, it'll just add to it. It'll just make things worse. So try and eat as holistically as you can, and try and get that the schedule changed as fast as you can. I mean, I know it's not easy. Basically that's it, because it again, the whole cortisol thing adds in. And if you are feeling stressed, even if you can take 10 minutes off during your shift and just meditate or do something that calms you. Everyone is different. It could be painting or drawing, someone is reading. just try to keep yourself, because the more stress that it adds to, it'll become chronic stress, because this is your job. You can't do anything about it.
I think the meditation tip is very useful. So whatever relaxes you, you must, at the time that you have off, take some time to tune into that. And like Disha rightly said, I think the eating holistically is the key ingredient.
Yeah.
Yeah, so someone on Facebook has sent us a question, and it's related to autoimmune gut-related disease. So are there any supplements that you can suggest that they can look for in the market, over-the-counter supplements?
I mean, see, autoimmune diseases are very varied. There is L-glutamine, which you can look at, which came up on my talk yesterday with Dr. Kiran brought it up. But honestly, if you have an autoimmune disease, you need to, there's a whole lot of things you need to see. What works, what doesn't, because you might have other, like I said, licorice is very soothing to the gut, but it causes blood pressure issues. So you have to have it for a short period of time, and not if you're a blood pressure patient. A lot of people for detoxing will give charcoal powder. But what happens is, if you are on a heavy list of medicines from your conventional doctor, you cannot have charcoal powder. It will bind to everything. So stuff like L-glutamine, slippery elm, all of these do help for sure. Your omega-3. Omega-3, I think you can take. Everyone is deficient and everyone needs it. And vitamin D. So these are the most basic ones. But otherwise, you need, it's a case by case. Magnesium is someone most people are deficient in.
But it may be good to have a consult before one decides to self, medicate or have that.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, that's a good advice. We have Farida with us. Farida, you're unmuted. You can ask your question.
I'm sorry, but okay, I had just asked the question about the ghee. But since you've unmuted me, I'd like to ask one more question. I do have a lot of autoimmune problems like arthritis, and also I had colitis, but that's gone now. But I do have somewhat of diverticulitis. So which gut supplement would be the best for me?
It's not as clear cut as everything has to be looked at. You must be under the care of a doctor, right?
Yeah, I am. But I'm not really prescribed on medicines as such.
Okay.
I just take care of my diet a lot.
That's the first step. So what you're doing is brilliant.
I don't even have dinner. I have more of fruits in the night. And I have sometimes boiled vegetables in the night, and that's it.
So one thing, like I can tell you, this comes out after you talk to a person and you hear what their routine is and what their issues are, which is why I say you can't off the bat say try this. Like you said, fruit at night. Don't have fruit at night. Have fruit in the morning. You're not meant to have fruit at night.
Okay.
Have fruit at night. Okay. Best, I would need to talk to you to figure out, what diet are you on? What diet is suiting you? What is your sleep pattern? What does it look like you are deficient in? So,
okay. Yeah, that's a lot. I think it's a lot of history that needs to look into, and that's not proper on this kind of a forum.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it'll be difficult. It won't be fair for me to tell you something because I don't know.
No, it doesn't make sense. But you're saying not to have fruits in the night. So can I have just boiled vegetables or should I have regular food?
Depends on what you're eating for the rest of the day. You can have boiled vegetables if you want to have, if you're hungry beyond those, because I would be if I just ate boiled vegetables. You can have, if you're having grains, have whole grains. Do not have gluten if you have arthritis issues. I would say stay off dairy also if you can. I don't know what all there is. Is there a weight issue? Is there a digestive issue along with that? Because some people might have arthritis or autoimmune issues. It doesn't show up in their digestion, and day-to-day digestion issues might not arise. So again, if you're eating vegetables, that's great. If that satisfies you, that's brilliant. But if you're hungry, then make sure whatever you eat along with that is wholesome.
Thank you. We'll just take one last question. And in case due to short of time, we are not able to take your question, the video of this session is available on our Facebook page as well as on our YouTube channel. You can drop your comments over there and we'll try our best to get you all the answers as well. So one last question, and we have Ruchika with us. Ruchika, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Hi, thanks. And thanks, Disha, for the lovely session. Just one question from my side is, at the age of 35 plus, what kind of superfoods can we have for constipation?
Okay. Magnesium, citrate or magnesium oxide.
Okay.
People say prunes help, banana helps. Everyone's again different. These things don't help me. What else will help with constipation? Wait, whole list of stuff. I'm sitting, I was 30 things on my mind, I forget. But okay, papaya is great. It's the most, I think it's the most famous ones for that. See, for a lot of people, when I give the gut tonic, which has this slippery elm and all, that helps. For some
So
people,
having these fruits in the morning first thing, that helps, or we have to eat it after breakfast?
No, eat your fruit for breakfast. First. Eat your fruit for breakfast or whatever your regiment is, but you can have a lot of vegetables would help. There's fiber there as long as it's not irritating your stomach. You can have a lot of water for sure. Some people, if again, someone like me, I'll give up anything. I don't want to give up my 1 cup of coffee in a day, and coffee helps me. But you have to make sure that the coffee you get is organic, because coffee can have a lot of toxins. Coffee can be very good for health, depending. Again, it depends from person to person. For me, it helps me. It helps with my constipation issues. You up your fiber. You drink a lot of hot water with lemon. You some people again prunes and all of that. Banana. Some people swear by banana. Again, it's trial and error. You can have your little bit of banana, a little bit of papaya. If you're a coffee person, you can have your coffee. Coconut oil helps.
Just one thing also, Disha, if I can add here, that I did notice Ruchika said fruit after the meal. So fruit actually should be had before the meal.
Yeah. Not
after, because then it just, in some way, it actually falls behind your cooked meal and it doesn't really get digested. It actually rots in your gut.
Not.
Yeah. So fruit raw should always be had before the cooked in any meal if you're going to have it together.
Now, one last question, I think, which is coming from Nam. He's not able to, I guess he has some connectivity issue. Which is more beneficial if they have olives rather than olive oils, and why? So he's asked this question a couple of times. So I said, please, let's bring it up.
Olives or olive oil?
Mm-hmm.
Whichever you prefer. Olives are very good, but we all know olive oil is much easier to use in the sense that, in your salads and all. So go ahead, use both. Just don't overdo it, but go ahead, use both.
Thank you for a beautiful session. One last question for a thyroid person. Any superfoods for them?
Brazil nuts, sea vegetables. Again, I can give you the contact number from, I don't know how many people know him, Captain Pavan. He's in Mehrauli. He has a lot of all this stuff. Thyroid issues, what else? Considering I am also careful. They say to a lot of people, don't have this, don't have that. But if you're having all your vegetables in a certain quantity, you're fine. Cabbage nahi khana, ye nahi khana. Quantities are fine. Iodine is a good. Iodine, again, from kelp and all, you get iodine, which is selenium is very important. And again, thyroid will also be related, like I told you, to stress. So if you are stressed, I don't know there are a lot of different reasons why thyroid issues happen. If you are stressed, then try to meditate, whatever calms you. I could be, if I'm very passionate about what I'm doing, I could be calm and in a meditative zone when I'm sitting and working, or, so it totally depends on what calms you. But Brazil nuts and sea vegetables are two things for thyroid which are very good.
Thank you. That was an excellent session. I know the questions will not stop. So thank you, Harika. Thank you, Dolly, for spending so much time with us and taking the patience to answer all the questions, Disha. I know it took, and thank you, Damini, for doing such a great job with the Q&A. I know the questions are just piling up. So Disha, any last tips before we sign off?
Any last tip? You know, my biggest thing is stress. It kills everything. It will not let you absorb your nutrients. It won't let you. It'll cause issues you don't even realize. So honestly, just don't stress. You don't know what's gonna. I mean, so many things that happen. I mean, 5 years later, you're gonna really give a damn about it. So on just try getting these practices, even if you do it for 10 minutes a day, whatever makes you happy, whatever, honestly. And the best way to do it is if you have a whole list of stuff, like it happens with me, a whole pile up of stuff, a list of things to do, just break it up. And what you can deal with, you can. What you can't, let it go.
Now, one last question. Sorry for this, but please do tell us how people can get in touch with you, because a lot of people are asking for Disha's contact number. How would you like them to get in touch with you?
WhatsApp, the easiest.
So you can
Drives
share.
me crazy, but it's also the easiest.
Would you like to share it in the chat?
Yeah, I'll just type it. So.
And also you have your handle, so people can find you as Disha Functional Foods on
Instagram. Am I giving the right number? Sometimes I've been told I write 99 instead of 98, sometimes giving up.
So 98-100 46966. There you go. You've got her contact you. With that, we wish you all a very, very good night. Thank you, Disha, for joining us. Thank you, Harika. An awesome session as always.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.